The Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
The Full Melt.
We're continuing coverage all this week on Illinois' medical marijuana program. Today, we look at the delays that have plagued the program, which started in January of 2014. Still, no patients can use the program. WGEM's Jeremy Culver joins us with more. Jeremy, good morning.
Good morning, Natalie. Well, I spoke with State Representative Lou Lang, the writer of Illinois' medical marijuana bill, and Lang says the delays could kill the program. Lang says the state was slow to draft rules for applications of patients, cultivators, and dispensary owners. Lang fears by the time the program is finally available to patients, there will only be 2 years left. Now, keep in mind, we're nearly a year and a half into what's supposed to be a 4-year pilot program. And Lang says the delays could drive up costs for patients.
Because the entrepreneurs who have put hundreds of thousands of dollars in building these buildings and growing marijuana and hiring experts and making these applications, just like any other business, people will want to make their money back. It will force prices up.
Lang is also concerned that high prices could force residents to get their marijuana illegally, causing more problems than solutions.
All right, Jeremy, there's certainly concerns with this program locally as well.
Yes, and some of those are businesses and some of those are actually officers with those concerns. So if you join us tomorrow, we're going to actually explore what those concerns are, what were their issues, and actually where they stand on the issues today.
All right, that's coming up tomorrow. Jeremy, thank you.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
It's the Full Melt.
The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
Hey, look at that. We're on the air. I like that out of nowhere. Welcome to the Full Melt program. I'm Steve Green. You'll find us here every Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 p.m. Eastern Time. What is going on? What's happening in the news today? I can tell you there's all kinds of stuff. And I really wanted to feature this idea about talking about what's happening in Illinois. What the heck happened to the Illinois medical marijuana program? I mean, Chicago is the third largest of the nation's cities. So what are you going to do? I mean, we know what's happening in New York. Nothing. We know what's happening in L.A. You can go and get on the phone and order your medical marijuana delivered. We don't know what's happening in Chicago, in Illinois. They passed, as you heard in the piece that preceded my voice here on this program, you heard that they passed the medical marijuana law back in, 2013? And it was a 4-year pilot program, which means that this is, 2 years in now, almost. I mean, it's getting to be, it's almost, it's going to cut this program in half. They haven't gotten anywhere. No dispensaries are open in Chi-Town. Now, is this foot dragging or is this the state acting appropriately? I mean, really, what is it? You can put all kinds of, you can speculate all you want. But there is, they've got this set up, but nobody's open. Is the medicine even growing at this point? Coming up in just a few moments after the break, we'll talk to somebody in Chicago who's in the business of giving people advice and information on how to fill out paperwork, for the program. And, what the rules are. I mean, it's different than it is in many places. There's no patient caregiver thing as traditionally defined. You don't get to grow it for yourself. You don't get to really assign somebody to grow it for you. You've got to go to a dispensary. None are open. 2 years into a 4-year pilot program. So really, we'll pick that apart and figure out what it is and what it isn't. Because, and then the other thing, I mean, this is a tourist town. Chicago has a ton of residents. It also has a ton of tourism. So if you're going to Chicago, as we are going to be on this program in July, and, you know, you're a medical marijuana patient, like I am, and you go there and you got your medicine with you, what happens? I mean, do you got to go and apply for a temporary permit? Do they have some reciprocity there? What goes on with that whole deal? Because I'd like to know, come, you know, third week in July, what I'm going to do about the medical marijuana issue. Is it going to be one? We'll find out. In the meanwhile, there's some stuff happening in the news I thought I'd try and bring your attention to. Do we have enough time? I think we do. You know, one of these handy resources for news and information that you can find, you know, pretty much every week is through the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. And in this, they put out a newsletter which has some brief news attached. It doesn't go into great detail. There are some other publications that go into, you know, much broader detail. This is just kind of almost like a headline kind of thing, but at least it tells you what's going on. And, you know, just in checking over some of the stuff that's happening recently, of course, you've been watching the polls, and the polls have been increasing with regards to Americans looking at the view of both legal marijuana as a retail trade and also medical marijuana, which seems to be falling on the, you know, back burner here in some places. So there's a new CBS poll that says the majority of Americans are now backing legalization. And it's 53% of respondents said yes to the question, should marijuana be legal? You know, and then it kind of details how that skews out population-wise. Of course, the old people, the people over 55 or even 65, I think it's 55, and the people who are identified as Republicans or conservatives. Those are the people who still say no to this. Those are the people who have been affected most, it seems, by the boogeyman syndrome. Because the rest of America has seemed to waken up to this. So we'll see what happens. In other news, as it relates to NORML and some of the stuff they have their eye on here. Of course, you saw the scandal causing the DEA head, Michelle, is that Linhart? She's got a funny spelling and a funny pronunciation, given the spelling, to resign. No confidence vote, especially after the Office of the Inspector General report revealed that DEA officials had participated in sex parties arranged by Colombian drug cartels, and had also received weapons and cash from cartel members. You know, that's pretty bad. Look, she needed to go a long time ago. I'm surprised that Obama even, you know, looked at her and asked to have her confirmed in that office, head of the DEA. Nearly 60% of voters saying, regulate marijuana in Rhode Island. So that's another thing which has skewed statistics. But, you know, legislation seeking to legalize the use and retail sales of cannabis for adults is pending before the state House and Senate there, as it is in many places, like we just talked about Pennsylvania. The thing is that once you get the thing instituted, can you put it into, you know, practice? Florida has had something in place for a while now, too. Nothing going there. New York, they just finally said, after, you know, several years of haggling this out, it's going to cost you $200,000 plus a $10,000 non-refundable deposit if you intend to be one of the 5 growing licenses here in the state of New York. So there's that. On a broader front, what else is coming up? I mean, I told you about us going to Chicago. I keep reminding you about that. What else is? Isn't Cinco de Mayo's coming up, isn't it? Oh, yeah, it is. Cinco de Mayo. I think it should be, reframed. Why does it always have to have the booze attached? Because isn't the word marijuana kind of a derogatory term in the United States, anyways, towards the the thing about cannabis? Because that's what it really is. It's cannabis. But for the people that May 5th is not that far away. It's only a few days. Today's May Day. But I really think that attaching alcohol always to the message shouldn't be necessarily the case, given the new views on marijuana in the country. Just my opinion. Don't you agree that cannabis may be a better way to celebrate Cinco de Mayo than with the traditional adult libation beverage? It would go something like this. Marijuana! Doesn't that sound better? I don't know. To me, it just does. All right, we can get rid of that. I just thought, May 5th coming up. It would be smart to do the marijuana thing. It just sounds better to me. I don't know why. Maybe it's because this is a show about hemp, cannabis, and marijuana. Tequila doesn't go so well. Although, a good shot with some lemon and some salt on occasion for celebratory purposes. Maybe on Cinco de Mayo. I can hold my tequila. Look, I don't drink at all. I'm not a drinker. But back in the days when I would partake in the alcoholic adult beverage, I could hold my tequila. Give me a couple of beers and I'm 3 sheets in the wind. Whew, gone. Yeah, no. I'm one of those guys. But tequila, I drink you under the table with the tequila. Hey, what do you think of that, Slam? It's been a while. People offer me alcohol all the time. I turn it down. But Cinco de Mayo coming up, anything goes, right? What is that? So today's Friday the 1st. So you're looking at what, Tuesday for Cinco de Mayo? Is everybody going to celebrate on Tuesday or, on Friday? I think they're going to do it on Tuesday. I think they should bring the marijuana into it. Anyway. So coming up after the break, we'll be talking about and to somebody in Chicago. I believe they're in Chicago. I guess I'll have to let them represent that on their own. Are they going to be in Chicago? Yes, I think they are in Chicago. We'll just go with Chicago because it sounds good. The legislation's been done. A lot of haggling, a lot of wrangling. Even though I would consider Chicago a progressive city, it seems like on the subject of cannabis, specifically on medical marijuana, because there's a lot of gang problems there. There are some conservatives in place. A lot of towns and neighborhoods scared of the whole thing. Look, I just got to tell you, just for, the value of truth, the veracity of reality, that cannabis, marijuana, on a retail level or on a, medical level, especially a medical level, is no threat to children. For crying out loud. It's the same thing as saying, you can't locate the CVS or the Rite Aid within 1,000 feet of some school or playground. Oh, good Lord. Put the optics back into focus, will you? So we'll talk about what happened in Illinois to medical marijuana. On the other side of the break, don't go away.
You're getting the full melt.
It's not easy out there, but it can be easier. And when it comes to medical marijuana in Michigan and chronic pain management, Dr. Bob Townsend, renowned for his patient advocacy and deep understanding of how patients and medical marijuana certifications fit together, makes it his hallmark to educate and provide the best holistic treatment for your condition. His knowledgeable staff makes you feel warm and welcome, and Dr. Bob makes you feel well. With locations across the state in Cadillac and Gaylord, Kalamazoo, Marquette, Mount Pleasant, Muskegon, Saginaw, Traverse City, you can't beat the convenience and feeling you get knowing you have someone on your side that cares. Denali Healthcare is on the web at denalihealthcaremi.com. Get answers to your holistic health questions or schedule an appointment now by calling 989-339-4464. Chronic pain management and holistic health answers is what they do. It's all they do. DenaliHealthcareMI.com. Get your certification and peace of mind now by making an appointment with Dr. Bob Townsend at 989-339-4464.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
They're parasites. They've got no contribution to this society. They're preying on our community and our kids. And it's going to end badly.
We've got exactly $100,000 in cash in the back of this car. I bet there's guys right there in that prison for doing just what we're about to do.
I want the Breckenridge Cannabis Club to be a household name.
This is us pioneering a new industry.
He's going after every resort town in Colorado. His plan is brilliant.
Watch out
This is a big boy operation now.
We are not the Amsterdam of the Rockies. We're Breckenridge.
Absolutely unbelievable to us that this has happened so quickly.
That's when the town erupted.
All hell can break loose.
I think we have an image to protect.
The powerful elite has definitely put the pressure on.
Everyone is playing everyone.
They're going to have a target painted on their back.
That is a real threat.
There's $2 billion to be had next year. I plan to take more than my fair share.
High Profits, Sunday night at 10 Eastern on CNN.
Does your dog or cat suffer with joint disorders, arthritis, anxiety, cancer, chronic pain, or other ailments? Hemp or cannabis-based medicinal products are now legal. Why should your pets go without the same options that we have available? Try Sativus, a daily hemp oil with CBD. Sativus is quality inspected and made in the USA. Easy-to-use drops are applied directly to your pet's food. For your pet's wellness, try Sativus drops. Ask for Sativus at your local pet store or learn more at petpain.com.
With this warmer weather, I get more active. Headaches and pains keep me from doing things I enjoy, like golfing and working outside my yard. Toledo Hemp Center's new location, 1415 Sylvania Avenue, has shown me there is an alternative to pharmaceutical drugs. I use CBD, cannabidiol, infused hemp lotions, oral sprays, and topical oils. Thank you, Toledo Hemp Center, for helping me restore and maintain my health with no side effects and no high. Find out more at ToledoHempCenter.com.
For a limited time at Domino's, large two-topping pizzas are only $5.99 each when you carry out, which is why we brought in Dale.
Dale Lamroot, Domino's fastest pizza box folder.
Because when you have a $5.99 carry-out deal this amazing, the last thing you want to do is run out of boxes.
Because no box, no carry-out.
This week only, carry out large two-topping pizzas for just $5.99 each, only at Domino's.
So this is Brian Rogers
and Caitlin McGuire
from CNN's High Profits.
And you're listening to The Full Melt Show.
My heart is wasted, cut up like a drug.
So the question is, what happened to medical marijuana in Illinois? It's a ghost town, it seems. The news on this is very thin. Hoping to clear it up. With me on the phone right now is somebody from the Healing Center in, I believe they're in Chicago, Illinois. Yes, Katie Potts, a patient's advocate for the Healing Clinic. Hello, Katie. Hello, are you there?
Yes, hi.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Say, I got to ask you, what happened to the medical marijuana in Illinois? We don't know.
Oh, okay. So it's going. It's a slow process, but it absolutely exists in Illinois. The bill was signed by Governor Quinn in August of 2013. But like I said, things are moving very slow. So unfortunately, we don't have any medicine available. We are enrolling patients into the program, but we've run into a few problems.
Tell us what those problems are.
So Illinois took a lot of time when writing this bill. They have three separate departments that wrote the bill. It's the Department of Finance, the Department of Agriculture, and the Department of Public Health. They really took their time in writing the criteria for who qualifies, who's going to be running dispensaries, who's going to be growing the medicine, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the biggest problems that we're facing now is that in 2015, so recently, just in January, the licenses were awarded for the cultivation centers and the dispensaries. But like I said, there's no medicine available.
So can you explain the difference between how Illinois' medical marijuana program may differ from other states with regards to patient caregiver definition and where you can get your medicine once it becomes available there?
Yeah, absolutely. So in Michigan, they have a caregiver program, or you can buy your medicine from dispensaries, meaning that you can have somebody grow your medicine. In Illinois, they were very explicit on the fact that the government needs to have their hand in the cultivation and distribution or dispensaries. So, like I said, there's three separate departments that are running them. Anything for cultivation, anything growing is all going to be run under the Department of Agriculture. So they, really took their time in writing these rules.
about the grow facilities and the methodology
who
for
can have a license. A little bit of a fun fact is Illinois made $5 million pure profit just in application fees alone. So in order to apply to be a cultivation center, you had to pay $25,000.
Was that a refundable thing in case you didn't get it?
No, absolutely not.
Wow. So it was completely not refundable. You had to be willing to post $25,000 on a gamble and hope that you came up snake eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. And then if you wanted to apply to be a dispenser, you had to pay $5,000.
Well, that's a little more doable, I would say. So when you say the state needed to have hands-on with this, it was really about making sure that these cultivation centers had particular location and particular ability.
Yeah, so Illinois was very specific. They wanted to make sure that the whole state was very well served. So, as far south as the rural areas, and to obviously Chicago, the bigger cities, the suburbs, they wanted to make sure that the medicine was going to be distributed through the whole state. I know that is a problem in Michigan, whereas the medicine tends to only be available in the bigger cities.
Are you from Chicago? Are you from Illinois?
No, I'm from Michigan.
Really?
Yes, I'm from northern Michigan.
Nice. So northern Michigan, then you're familiar with the rural community in northern Michigan and how underserved they are with regards to access to, safe access to medical marijuana.
Right, yeah. I'm from a small town called Petoskey, Michigan, and I am not an enrolled patient in Michigan, but I do know that the patients that I do know have to have a caregiver, so they have to designate one specific person to grow their medicine and pick it up.
Or to grow it themselves if they want to.
Or grow it themselves, yeah.
But not so in Illinois.
Not at all in Illinois.
No growing.
And that's how they wanted to differ. And also because they saw it as a way of making money.
Sure, $5 million just on non-refundable application fees.
Well, yeah, of course. And especially getting the Department of Agriculture involved, they'll be able to regulate and tax it.
I'll bet you the giant, freeway leading into Chicago is not in disrepair with that $5 million laying around. I'm just saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who knows where that money went? Somehow managed to disappear.
So many things blow away in Chicago. You can't tell it. The wind's going
Windy
so
City.
fast.
They call it the Windy City for a reason, I guess.
So, so you've got the Department of Agriculture overseeing the grow facilities, and they take a long time to write the rules. Is there actually medication being grown yet? Do you see a light to the end of that tunnel? There is medicine being grown. So it wasn't until January of 2015 when the actual license winners were announced. There were 53 cultivation center licenses. Yeah. So, like I said, able to service the whole state. So are they? Do you know where they're at? Are they sprinkled throughout the state? Is that how?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and they were very strategic too. I don't know the exact way that they awarded the licenses, but it was definitely by one cultivation center being able to service X amount of districts or X amount of patients.
Equidistant from another center somewhere.
Correct. Yeah, correct. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So now you've got the department. Which department? The health department's overseeing the application process, which you guys are intimately familiar with because I assume that you help patients at your clinic become familiar with the rules and then also the application process. So you would know a lot about the Department of Health, Community Health.
Yeah. We work actually very close with the Department of Public Health to make sure that we are absolutely state compliant since they are so stringent on their rules. The Department of Public Health was responsible for writing all of the rules in terms of who qualifies. So which debilitating conditions must a patient have in order to qualify for medicinal cannabis, and what rules go on after that. So in Illinois, there's a couple of rules. You must have a bona fide relationship with your certifying physician. They wrote this rule because they wanted to differ away from the stigma of, let's say, for California. Whereas in California, there's a stigma that you could just go anywhere on Venice Beach and go get a,
Hey, you, Mr. Dispensary guy behind the counter. My back hurts, and my doctor says I do medical marijuana. Can you give me a card on the spot?
Exactly. Or, hey, I have, have dry eyes sometimes. Will this help? So, so Illinois was very specific.
So they viewed it as everybody can apply, so this is basically a skirt from legal use.
Yeah, so they wanted to make sure that they're not, patients aren't going to any old doctor. They're going to their physician. They're going to somebody who knows their past medical history and, is willing to certify them for cannabis.
Do you know, are there doctors that are specializing in this arena, or is it just you've got to go to your regular doctor?
Well, so that's why the Healing Clinic exists. So at the Healing Clinic, we are that, safe place where a patient can go, because physicians aren't willing to certify in Illinois. And I don't blame them, because it's so much rigmarole.
It's a risky business for a physician to get into that place. He's got to learn a whole new thing, and there's no dosing. It goes against all of his teaching in school. It goes against the method by which he does other prescriptions. This is what I'm giving you for this ailment.
Exactly, and the other point is the fact that why would I go through the process of 15 pieces of paper that I have to physically send out when I can sign off on a script for Marinol or whatever it is, X, Y, or Z.
It's a lot easier to just go with the norm, go with the usual.
Exactly,
and there's no risk attached with that. There could be, even if there's no actual risk, there could be perceived risk in, being viewed closer by the DEA or having the state, examine your medical license closely, this kind of thing.
Exactly, and most physicians aren't willing to put, their license on the line. And, it's actually really sad because a lot of them are very misinformed about the law here, and that makes us really sad. So that's why the Healing Clinic exists.
So you guys do that? Do you guys do certifications with doctors right there, or do you point people to a different place where doctors are?
No, we do have doctors on site, so we are certifying
patients.
We do maintain that relationship. Yep.
Do you have a lot of patients on board now, or is it kind of been thin because there's no access yet?
It's touch and go. The state has really put a lot of emphasis on us in terms of increasing the patient population. But again, a lot of patients are very skeptical due to the fact that medicine is not available and it is so new and they don't understand, in X, Y, and Z.
Now, the Department of Finance, this would be the third entity, they oversee, the dispensaries?
Yes, yep. Mm-hmm. So they were in charge of writing all the rules for the dispensaries. So they were the people who came up with the $5,000 application fee and wrote all the rules going forward for dispensaries. Do
you know if these guys work on a commission together? Do these departments ever knock heads and speak, internally? Do they kind of collaborate?
Yeah, they absolutely do collaborate. But they do work as they were in charge to write the rules for that specific entity. So, and that's a lot of the miscommunication, and a lot of the reason why we still don't have medicine in Illinois is due to the fact that 3 different government agencies were in charge of writing the rules.
If you want
to, there's going to be some miscommunication.
If you want to slow some stuff down, let's run in triplicate the red tape of government, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So when patients come into your clinic and they're like, "Look, I really believe that I have a qualifying condition. Here's my situation." What are they generally looking for? Are they looking to find out information about the medical marijuana program? Do they seem well informed? Do they seem kind of lost in that arena, or are they really just looking to get certified, looking forward to the day that the dispensary on the corner opens?
Sure. So it's really across the board. We have patients contact us who are confident that they, because they've done their own research, they're confident that they do qualify into the program. It's one of 37 qualifying conditions, and they're very specific conditions. So we have patients on a daily basis calling us, "Hey, look, I have X condition. I know I qualify. Help me."
Am I on the list?
I don't know where to start.
Am I on the list or am I not on the list? Is that a question? Do they say, "Look, this is my condition. Do I make it on the list?"
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's a heartbreaking phone call that I have to make every single day of patients who call and say, "Hey, I have horrible depression. I have, chronic anxiety, and I have migraines. I know this helps me. Can you help me?" And unfortunately, those conditions that they listed are not one of the qualifying conditions. So we have to break their hearts every single day and say, "I'm so sorry, you do not qualify into the program."
Right. Well, it's part of what you got to do.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't in charge of writing the rules.
Exactly. Don't beat up the messenger.
Yeah, exactly.
So is there any hope for those people that you have to turn away? There's a process like there is in other states, isn't there, where they can, ask for their condition to become a qualifying condition?
Yeah, so the Healing Clinic was really instrumental in that, in terms of petitioning for debilitating conditions to be added. Actually, excitingly enough, there is a petition hearing on Monday, right downtown Chicago, that is to add 10 more conditions onto the list. So these are those conditions of anxiety, migraines, post-traumatic stress disorder, and a few other ones that, we really truly believe these patients should have access to this safe, natural product. But they don't, because they don't qualify under the
current rules, yeah. These rules, is this the first hearing that they've had to be more inclusive of different conditions?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the first.
So there is some light at the end of the tunnel. Well, we'll see what happens with that. Michigan had a similar program. I'm sure that other states have had a process by which you can add a qualifying condition. Michigan's been seemed to be slow at that process, really slow, like even slower than the rest of the stuff that they did. So don't feel alone because, government's the same in every state with regards to how slow it may move.
Yeah, I guess that's, a little bit of encouragement. Of course, we would love to see things move faster, but we're really just excited that we are able to help the patients, that we can. And 37 conditions is a lot. It's very limited. The program is very limited, but there are states that it still doesn't exist.
Right?
So
you're ahead of the game, at least in that arena. Listen, we're about to go into the commercial break, Katie. We're talking to Katie Potts, a patient advocate at the Healing Clinic. You're in Chicago, right?
Yes.
Can you stick with us through the break for a second? I just wanted to speak briefly about reciprocity. Do you have a minute?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Very, very cool.
Great.
Stand by. So we'll go to commercial break and come back. When I say the word reciprocity, it's about going from one state to another with your medical marijuana card. Will that work in Illinois? Michigan's got such a program. Is that the norm or not? We'll find out next. Don't go away.
You're getting the full melt.
It started with Weed 1.
Some have called it a watershed moment.
Then came Weed 2.
It's absurd that we would have to do this to get medicine.
Now Dr. Sanjay Gupta is at it again, and he's reaching higher than ever with Weed 3.
I never thought I would be smoking weed in the hospital.
The movement behind it.
We demand this plant go through the process of the FDA.
The radical research.
I have to say I'm kind of stunned.
Weed 3, the marijuana revolution.
Each week, Pot Pitch takes a look at different medical or legal pot business as they attempt to seek investment capital and partners in order to take their business to the next level. What do investors like?
And which entrepreneurs are shown the door?
Real venture capitalists, smart entrepreneurs, and exciting business models in a brand new industry, cannabis. Pot Pitch. Find out what this new marijuana industry will look like and who its players will be. Real deals, real people, real decisions. Pot Pitch at potpitch.com and featured on the Full Melt Radio Show.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Does your dog or cat suffer with joint disorders, arthritis, anxiety, cancer, chronic pain, or other ailments? Hemp or cannabis-based medicinal products are now legal. Why should your pets go without the same options that we have available? Try Sativus, a daily hemp oil with CBD. Sativus is quality inspected and made in the USA. Easy-to-use drops are applied directly to your pet's food. For your pet's wellness, try Sativus drops. Ask for Sativus at your local pet store or learn more at petpain.com.
With this warmer weather, I get more active. that aches and pains keep me from doing things I enjoy, like golfing and working outside my yard. Toledo Hemp Center's new location, 1415 Sylvania Avenue, has shown me there is an alternative to pharmaceutical drugs. I use CBD, cannabidiol, infused hemp lotions, oral sprays, and topical oils. Thank you, Toledo Hemp Center, for helping me restore and maintain my health with no side effects and no high. Find out more at ToledoHempCenter.com.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio show.
It's the Full Melt Show. We're talking today about what happened to medical marijuana in Illinois. And it's a big question because, look, this is the third most populous state in the country. It is a place where people go to, run tours. I remember when, I was in my youth. I'm no longer in my youth. I went to Chicago looking to explore. It's the big city. It's like a mini New York there. Wouldn't you say, Katie, that it's like a mini New York in Chicago?
Yeah, I love Chicago. It's beautiful.
So you're from Michigan. You're from northern Michigan. You're used to the the backyard, the big backyard with the white-tailed deer running through it, and the geese flying around, and all of the seasons. You get them
$1 Million Sunset,
yeah,
et cetera, et cetera.
Beautiful. You go to Chicago, it's a little different. It's more big city. It's more urban jungle, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you were coming from Michigan, like I'm going to be in July, as a medical patient, and you go to Illinois, and you're there in Chicago, what do I do to get my medical marijuana? Or what happens if I bring it with me and somebody says, hey, you with the medical marijuana, let's see your card. What's going to happen?
So it's a gray area. As of right now, it's really hard to say. In terms of a patient coming here looking to obtain medicine, it's not possible right now due to the fact that we don't have medicine.
It's not available
medicine
yet.
Doesn't exist.
Strike. Guess again. So, yeah, okay. So you guys can't get it, so there's none for visitors. But assuming that we were, I'm just, we're looking into the future here. So put on your Swami hat for a second and look into the future. Say, when do you think the medical marijuana might be available? Just if you were to guess about it.
It'll be available in September, and that's a modest guess.
A conservative estimate.
Yeah.
So it's September. We'll just say the next month. We're in October. It's around Halloween, maybe. What do you think would happen in that instance? Is there a clause in Illinois law that says that Illinois kind of has to, give me some consideration for my Michigan medical marijuana card?
As of right now, there's not. That is one of the issues being discussed right now. It's not a yes. It's not a no. As a patient advocate, we are advocating that we think it is fair. We think if you are a patient in a different state, you should be allowed to travel anywhere in
your medical
America
condition
and be able to
shouldn't
obtain your medicine,
right,
provided that state has medicinal cannabis.
So what you're saying is that your medical condition shouldn't preclude you from travel.
Right. Yeah. And unfortunately, right now it's a gray area. They haven't discussed how they are going to be handling this in the future due to the fact that they're only focused on we don't even have medicine yet.
So the Marijuana Policy Project rates the state, says 7 states, including Michigan, Arizona, Delaware, Maine, Michigan, Nevada, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island have reciprocity clauses in their state's medical marijuana law. There's seems to be some, weird stuff around Nevada. But Nevada's doing it. I just saw an article today where the medical marijuana guys from Nevada were touring Colorado grows and dispensaries. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is interesting. And, to be honest with you, we're doing the same thing. We have very close relationships with the people who are growing the medicine and the dispensaries, and they were all out in Colorado for the Cannabis Cup. They're all out there learning. They're going to Washington. They're going to Colorado. They're learning wherever.
You're talking about the bigwigs, the guys with the suits and ties.
Yeah, exactly. But just to be able to learn what they can, and enjoy that reciprocity. And in fact, we are actually sending our patients to Michigan because patients are approved in Illinois. So, you could come to the Healing Clinic tomorrow as an Illinois resident, and, we could go ahead and streamline that process for you and get you approved into the cannabis program, but you would have to wait until, fall to obtain your medicine. Unless, of course, you're willing to make the drive to Michigan.
Katie, I'm really glad you brought that up because I never connected those dots, that you could be an Illinois resident, you could be in Chicago, and make the drive around the lake bend there, and go to someplace in Michigan and use your card to obtain medicine. I've never seen somebody from another state present their card here in person, and I've heard no tale of tale about that. It's an interesting question because I really wonder how police would react, because I'm sure that they're not well trained in what do you do with a guy from another state with a card and some medicine. That's a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question. But again, of course, it's really unfortunate that a lot of things surrounding cannabis is so touch and go and such a gray area. But it's in terms of us, because we don't have any medicine, what else are we supposed to do? Michigan is the closest state that has reciprocity. How can we not recommend that our patients with debilitating conditions who need this medicine to get up every day and do their daily lives, how can we not tell them to go there?
Well, I'm sure that the federal government would have an issue with that too, about medical marijuana going from one state to another. Wouldn't they be concerned that people would be driving back with that marijuana into Illinois? And then does the medical marijuana law cover them with that cannabis, given that they already know there's no place to access it there under legal terms, so to speak?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. Again, one of the really severe gray areas, and we have to be very careful with what we say.
Sure, you don't want to say the wrong thing and get somebody in trouble, for sure.
Exactly. It's very obvious. Cannabis is a Schedule I, federally illegal
controlled substance. Yes, it's the worst of the worst on the list.
That is the end of the discussion. So if you are an Illinois patient with your approval letter, and you are going to Michigan, and the dispensary has provided you with the product, and you are on your way driving back, and you happen to be speeding through Indiana, as Illinois and Michigan people are famous for doing,
or had a cracked windshield or a broken light or anything.
Yeah, we know how much they hate the Michiganders. But let's say you do happen to be pulled over. No one can tell you that you're covered. I can't tell you. It's in Indiana. It's illegal. There's
right. You got to go through Indiana. There's no question about that.
Right. Yeah. But let's say okay, awesome. You made it back into Illinois with your product, with your medicine. And let's say you do happen to be pulled over for X, Y, or Z reason, and for whatever reason cannabis comes up. But if you have your approval letter, again, another huge gray area, but it's really up to the discretion of the police.
Right, it's pretty discretionary at that point, isn't it? And then it's also untested legal area, because I'll bet there's not a legal example yet of somebody doing that. I would imagine that's an interesting thing. I should ask around and do some Chicago testing. At the police department.
Exactly. We have to be really careful about what we say, but we haven't heard of anything.
Right.
In the event that, let's say a cancer patient got pulled over, pulled out their medical approval letter and said, look, I am enrolled in the Illinois cannabis program. Here's my letter to prove it. Something that's interesting, though, is on that exact letter, it says, you understand that cannabis is a Schedule I federally illegal substance.
Right. Well, it's just I think that's
sign off on that 3 different times.
Right. I'm sure it's just a CYA thing for the government. Just a release of liability for them, I would think.
Exactly. Yeah. We can't tell you that.
Right. No.
You're 100%, because
Look,
those rules are being written as they go along.
Look, even if you've got we've got hard cards here in Michigan, and it still is an issue with the law. They're still going to challenge it here. They have, even the people with the cards. Unfortunately, in Michigan, and I've said this before, the government has decided to use this law as a sword rather than its intended shield to patients and caregivers.
Sure, yeah.
So it doesn't, even in states where it's been around for a while, they still have problems. So I wouldn't want you to venture that get out that far on a limb over that issue. But it's an interesting proposition, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. And, again, like as far as we're concerned, if we're allowed to send our patients to you, there's no reason why.
Well, it's certainly legal here. But the question is, do you guys only get a letter or do you get a card?
So, as of right now, they're only issuing approval letters.
Is it have some official seal on it? Is it notarized? Is there a way to determine that it's not a fake?
I mean, there is. Anything in this generation can be manipulated, I'm sure.
Does it have a distinguishing number on it, like a registration number?
Does.
Oh, okay, so that helps.
Yeah, it has your identification number, your name, and your proof of residency. But at the same time, it's just a letter. And the reason why it's just a letter is because the Department of Finance, so the ones overseeing the dispensaries, are working on creating a card that has a chip in it.
Oh, so they're trying to go with a smart card. Listen, Katie, we're hitting the break again. I'm sure you can hear the music in the background. I'm sure lots of people are going to listen to this later. How can they get a hold of the Healing Clinic?
Sure, yeah. If you're interested in getting a hold of the Healing Clinic in Chicago, the phone number is 312-890-6113.
Thank you so much. We got to run to break. We're up against the clock. We'll talk to you soon, and good luck in your state. Goodbye.
You're getting the full melt.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Each week, Pot Pitch takes a look at different medical or legal pot business as they attempt to seek investment capital and partners in order to take their business to the next level. What do investors like?
And which entrepreneurs are shown the door?
Real venture capitalists, smart entrepreneurs, and exciting business models in a brand new industry, cannabis. Pot Pitch. Find out what this new marijuana industry will look like and who its players will be. Real deals, real people, real decisions. Pot Pitch at potpitch.com and featured on the Full Melt Radio Show.
Imagine a world where patients can use marijuana like any other medicine. The Marijuana Patients Organization challenges the status quo by helping our neighbors to enjoy a better quality of life. Visit the MPO at marijuanapatients.org and enjoy informative articles, engaging debates, and information about treatments, doctors, and dispensaries in your area. Over 50,000 people have registered at marijuanapatients.org since 2010. Join us at the Marijuana Patients Organization today, marijuanapatients.org.
It started with Weed 1.
Some have called it a watershed moment.
Then came Weed 2.
It's absurd that we would have to do this to get medicine.
Now Dr. Sanjay Gupta is at it again, and he's reaching higher than ever with Weed 3.
I never thought I would be smoking weed in the hospital.
The movement behind it.
We demand this plant go through the process of the FDA.
The radical research.
I have to say I'm kind of stunned.
Weed 3, the marijuana revolution.
They're parasites. They've got no contribution to this society. They're preying on our community and our kids. And it's going to end badly.
We've got exactly $100,000 in cash in the back of this car. I bet there's guys right there in that prison for doing just what we're about to do.
I want the Breckenridge Cannabis Club to be a household name.
This is us pioneering a new industry.
He's going after every resort town in Colorado. His plan is brilliant.
Watch out for her dark side.
this is a big boy operation now.
We are not the Amsterdam of the Rockies. We're Breckenridge.
Absolutely unbelievable to us that this has happened so quickly.
That's when the town erupted.
All hell can break loose.
I think we have an image to protect.
The powerful elite has definitely put the pressure on.
Everyone is playing everyone.
They're going to have a target painted on their back.
That is a real threat.
There's $2 billion to be had next year. I plan to take more than my fair share.
High Profits, Sunday night at 10 Eastern on CNN. It's the Full Melt Radio Show. You know, this song really gives me a little kick. I don't know why it's so melodramatic. It's the Full Melt Show, Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 p.m. Live every day, talking about medical marijuana, cannabis, hemp, the lifestyle, and the news. You know, I was just talking with Katie Potts out there at the Healing Clinic. And during the break, she happened to mention to me that if you want to get your medical marijuana card in Illinois, this is how stringent it is out there, that you actually have to pass a federal background check, which means they're looking in every state for any felony conviction. And she had apologized. She's like, oh, I meant to get to this before the break hit. But if you're a convicted felon for any reason, I don't know, in some places, if you write a bum check, you're a felon over a certain amount. If it's like $200 or more. I think in Michigan it was a felony for a $200 bum check. If you kite a check for $200, you're a felon. Is that fair? I don't know. People like to make felonies for different levels of offense in different states. And then you've got varying degrees of felonies. It's a class 1 felony, a class 2, it's a felony A, a felony B. So I think the idea, especially in Illinois, that you'd have to pass a federal background check, because at least in Illinois you can determine what a felony is and maybe make exclusions for certain violations. Like the check guy. Look, it was one check. It was 20 years ago. Nothing changed. We don't think you're a risk as a medical marijuana patient. This isn't about growing. This isn't about being a dispensary owner. This isn't about anything but being a medical patient. There is no other law in the United States that I'm aware of that precludes you from medicine given a reason and a doctor who says that this is something you should have. It doesn't work that way. No doctor, if you're a convicted felon, is going to tell you can't take OxyContin or that you can't take, there are legal excuses for things like methamphetamine, for crying out loud. It is a Schedule II drug. Meth, we're talking meth here. There are legitimate medical reasons for the use of methamphetamine, not for marijuana on a federal level. So I'm just saying, if you're going to, at least if you're going to make people pass a background check, make it be for the growers, the people that might have an opportunity to exploit the system, especially in volume. Why make them go through this federal screen for felonies of various, and sundry qualities with regards to underlying merit, the degree of the offense? What may not be a felony in Illinois is a felony in Texas. And so if they do the federal background check, you're precluded from the Illinois program, even though you're not a convicted felon in Illinois. You're convicted for something that's not a felony in Illinois in Texas. And to me, that seems more than heavy-handed and against the entire idea that patients need protection and access to adequate, effective medication. You can argue the efficacy rule all day you want. Is this effective? Is it not? Is it proven? The answer is no. Not from the traditional standpoint. Not from the clearance of the Food and Drug Administration, the Drug Enforcement Administration, or anybody in the administration of the federal government. The Department of Justice is not going to give you any breaks. In fact, in recent news, you know that Representative Rohrabacher from California last year, late in the season, got it through the federal, the CSJ bill, Commerce, Justice, and something else, science. Commerce, Justice, and Science. They fund the government through these little, funding bills. And one of them just does those three departments, CSJ. And it's the Justice Department, that gets its financing through that bill, through that federal funding. And it's, they pass this every year. But Rohrabacher got into there last year, this thing about, states can't, or the federal government is precluded from using any of its resources in prosecuting marijuana crimes in states that have made it legal or have a ruling of allowing for medical marijuana. But the Department of Justice recently said that, look, this doesn't keep us from doing a lot of stuff like, taking all your money, prosecuting you civilly. They still have some teeth, and some deep ones, some sharp ones. And so recently they just reintroduced, Rohrabacher and some other people have introduced legislation, and hopefully it gets somewhere. I think it might. How can almost half the nation have representatives in Congress with medical marijuana laws, especially all the states with, population? California alone. How can you have all those representatives in the federal government and not, have some people with some pressure behind them to make sure that the federal government isn't coming into their state and uprooting what they did legislatively back in that state? They have to be behind the state people in the federal government. How can you have state people that say, hey, this is allowable, this is okay, and the same representatives at the federal level saying, no, you can't do that. We're still not going to. So we're hoping that they're going to get some stuff done this time around. And get some more teeth in this business about, can we keep the federal government from really sinking their teeth into states? I don't have all the details in front of me. I just wanted to mention it in passing as it relates, because it ties into this subject we've been talking to today about what the hell happened to medical marijuana in Illinois. It's 2 years later, nearly. It was in August when they passed this 2 years ago in 2013. It's, here we are in May of 2015, and still a very slow movement. Katie reports there's light at the end of the tunnel. If you need medical marijuana, you're in Illinois. You're qualified. You've been in the system, or you've gone through the process of registering as a patient. That access to that medicine is likely coming conservatively in September. It's a conservative estimate. So what that means is it might, with a little luck, come a little earlier. Now, she said that the law just got passed in January, at least the administrative rules, where they wrote the rules that became effective back in January. They announced the winners of the people who are growing these things in 53 places in the state. But it's going to take a little while for them to obviously clear their facility with the state, because there's a lot of rules about this, about, monitoring and, security and, process, all this stuff, who you're hiring, all these things. I'm sure there are video surveillance. There's got to be some kind of connection to the state directly between these centers. It seems that that's what's going on there. But, once they get the rules and get cleared about it, then they got to plant it. Marijuana is going to take at least 2-3 months to grow to size as a plant, where you can harvest anything of value from it. And so then you've got another couple of months at least for the indica strains, some as many as 3 or 4 months for the sativa strains, and varying degrees of lengths of time between 2 months and 4 months for the hybrids. There are more varieties of cannabis available from people who've hybridized between the sativas and the indicas, the old school strains from what they call land races. That seems to be the big rush now. Everybody wants to go to the land races. What do you mean by land race? We're talking about naturally occurring, naturally growing cannabis in different regions throughout the country. You go harvest some seeds from those places, from strong varieties there, plants with good qualities, and bring them back and hybridize them with other plants with other good qualities, and you get new strains. So there's more of these strains of cannabis available, and they have crazy names attached. I mean, they're mean-nothing names. They're just marketing names. Some of them are tied back to the genetics involved. Hey, it's this crossed with that. And then when they refer to another one that you've now taken that and crossed it with something else, it's that crossed with something else. So there's some sense to it. If you look at the name, you can find out what 2 breeds or what 3 breeds or what 4 breeds might have been crossed to get these things. But there are more of those varieties available than, say, craft beers, for crying out loud. And those are, various and sundry, too. Either way, it's interesting to see how this transforms across the nation because, like I said before, and we'll say again, it ain't going away. It's only getting bigger. If you guys think that you're worried about the genie coming out of the bottle in places like Illinois and Pennsylvania, guess what? The genie's been out of the bottle. You've just been blocking him out of the state boundary. So get ready for the genie. That's all I got to say about that. And if the genie happens to come on Cinco de Mayo, good Lord, watch out. Marijuana. That's all I got to say about that. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back on Monday for another full edition of The Full Melt Show. Have a great time.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.